the way the Euro set up, it gave the teams too much freedom to not push forward, to really just settle for a draw, not really go for the win, because the way they did the qualification, letting more teams in, and then this whole best four of third place qualifying, it really made the draw confusing. I think it made the teams not really make for an exciting tournament in terms of the group stages, at least, because everyone knew that at least if they drew like every game and get 3 or 4 points, they're basically through to the round of 16. So
yeah, like I said, like there's 24 teams in the tournament, and with this rule of the 4 3 seeds that come through, it makes 16 out of 24. Mathematically, that's 75%.
Yeah,
that's very lenient. And if you look at it, because we also said that the top four of the top 4 of the third seeds, it kind of makes like a group G, like a 7th group by itself. And if you look at it, the top team in that group, Slovakia, got 4 points. Like if you look at the World Cup, 4 points typically is enough to push you as a second place, almost on goal differential. So looking at it and how all of a sudden like how the 4 points really allows you to move on. It's kind of weird because 4 points in a World Cup, like to get the second place, it's almost borderline not good enough. Because you could potentially still lose.
It shouldn't.
Like if you look at the Group C, Germany and Poland both ended up on 7 points.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you somehow had 4 points in that group, you wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
So thinking about it, it's saying basically, if you it's almost like saying you reach a certain amount of points, you'll be fine. You're moving on.
But the way some teams play in this tournament.
But going back to like we were talking about Group F, for example, I was really disappointed in Austria, not primarily because of their inability to cohesively move, but by their inability to find their star players and get the balls to them. For example, like Stoke City's Arnautovic, he had a really good season. He's on form. Get the ball to him. David Alaba, for example, he's obviously plays as a left back for Bayern Munich.
But he plays as a mid.
But obviously, like Barcelona have wanted to buy him, and he said, "Put me as a center midfielder only." And the thing is, they were really not utilizing him properly. They were pushing him far too much forward instead of letting him have the freedom to bring the ball out the back the same way Wales does with Gareth Bale, which then.
That was also Portugal's problem with Ronaldo because he was always seen up top as well. So, I guess we have different theories on this, but I always believe that he should play that kind of role like Alaba wants to play, where he needs to drop back a little more and not be the star guy, the guy who wants to score all the goals, be the star of the show and kind of develop the play for Portugal because he's a talent, of course, but I think he's the best. In my opinion, he's the best playmaker on that team because he has the skills to keep the ball near his feet. I believe he has the passing if he's in that kind of mindset. But it's Cristiano Ronaldo, so the limelight has to be on him. He needs to score the goal, and they have to feed him the ball. And the truth is, they're just not good enough to play that type of football where he could trust his players like he does in Real Madrid to basically do all the other work, and he just puts in the back of the net.
I agree to an extent with that because I do think, yes, he is a great playmaker. But I think over the past few years, he's evolved too much into a front line, just goal poacher, 6-yard goal.
That's true, yes.
But
the
thing, it could. He's 31, obviously. At 31, to still be banging in 50 goals a year, that's
ridiculous.
Exactly. So obviously he makes his money for what he does, the right thing he does. But I think that Portugal do have enough creative mindset around in João Moutinho and Renato Sanchez, the young 17-year-old, and Quaresma and Nani. I think they have enough. Enough creative ability and spark around him. But I think he's also been somewhat shambolic in front of the goal.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Some of the chances that he put in Real Madrid.
Saying like, obviously he recently just scored against Hungary to get the draw, which essentially saved them from getting eliminated. Mm-hmm. But I saw a stat that said through like the first 2 games, he's had 20 shots, and he's had more selfies taken than goals scored. Which is obviously when you're as big of a star as him, you're gonna get a lot of selfies taken with you.
Right,
but you should still be scoring the goals. That's what you get paid for.
As much as the shots on target.
Yeah. So that's pretty much Group F. Considering, I think that group was pretty much the biggest upset of this entire tournament.
Oh yeah.
Because that group ended up completely upside down.
Pretty much, yeah. Because Portugal was supposed to easily top that group.
Yeah, so I think what really surprised me next was Group C, considering the first two teams ended up both on 7 points, which is extremely difficult. And considering the fact that both Germany and Poland, when they played each other, it wasn't a great game for the goals. It was a great game for, obviously, they're two big rivals. Historically, they're big rivals as from past historical events. But it was a great match to watch for the physicality, for the technique that both teams were using. Exactly, because Joachim Löw is obviously known. He obviously showed in the World Cup. They won the World Cup.
Yeah.
He continues to show how much of a brilliant coach he is. Like when they played against Ukraine and beat them 2-0, Ukraine only had like 6 shots, and Germany had 20 plus, I think. And Germany also had 69% possession of the ball.
Yeah, which is expected. I think if they play anybody in this tournament, they're going to have more possession.
And I think the other surprising thing about this group is the fact that Ukraine ended up so far dead last. They did not win a single game. Yeah. Even Northern Ireland, who, if I'm not wrong, this is their first time in a tournament, just like Iceland, they beat them 1-0. And this is a Ukraine team that has not necessarily superstars on every team, but they've got guys like Konoplyanka, who plays at Sevilla, who's known for his speed. They have Yarmolenko on the other wings. They have a couple of playmakers, and they're a team that's known to have several players here and there. Like obviously back in the day, they have Andrei Shevchenko, but for them to just come to the tournament and do the same thing as Turkey and practically bottle it, for me that was kind of unacceptable. Which brings me to the next group, Group D. Croatia beating out Spain. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I mean, Croatia, I mean, they come in, they call this the golden Croatia generation. You got Mandzukic playing up top. You got Luka Modric, who, he didn't have a good season for Real Madrid, but, you know, in the tournament, I believe he scored the winning goal in the first game against...
beautiful ball.
Who was it again? Was it against the Czechs?
Yes, against the
Czechs, yeah. So, you know, they're always going to be a strong team. Obviously, you know, Spain... with, you know, Morata coming off of a so-so season for the Juve, but he had a good season beforehand when he took them to the Champions League final against Barcelona. You know, you have Iniesta, who obviously is still world class. You have Cesc Fabregas, who had a horrible season with Chelsea, but I mean, his ability is still there. So you have the previous World Cup champions and the previous defending European champions. So obviously everyone expected, despite that horrible run they had in Brazil in the World Cup, everyone expected them to top this group easily, but I think Croatia came out and they showed everybody why they're here and why they're one of the best teams in the Euros.
Yeah. And going back to that Croatian golden age, there's the Leverkusen 20-year-old center back who's a ball-playing center back. He's not a big center back, but watching his style and how calm and composed he is on the ball, it really showed something else, because I saw him under pressure. He hit a 50-yard ball directly to the right winger across the field, like that in a snap. It was beautiful, and it just shows that even these countries, even in the Balkan region, even where there is conflict, they're slowly but they're progressing. Obviously, with guys like Rakitic, who ironically came out of the academy from Switzerland in Basel, yes. And then you have Modric, who obviously became a huge name over at Tottenham. And they have more young players coming up, like Kovacic, Brozovic. They have Alen Halilovic, who's now on loan over at Sporting Gijon, but he's a Barcelona player. Yeah. And it just shows you, like, the Croatians are creating very technical players. Even the center back, he's 20 years old, but like I said, his ability could very well push him up into that defensive mid role, into a deep lying midfielder.
I think they've always been good at that, developing these good technical players, despite the fans being kind of, you know, crazy during the Euros, throwing, you know.
Yeah, those are very unfortunate events.
And I don't understand that in the Euros either, that, you know, the whole thing in France in the friendly where the bombings happen and, you know, the whole ISIS thing and the security. I don't understand how in this tournament you have people coming in with flares. In my opinion, if you come in the tournament with flares, you come in with a bomb, a gun, I don't know, anything. Because, you know, a flare can still hurt somebody, like we saw in one of the games. In the Croatian game, it blew up in one of the players' faces. So I mean, a flare is just as dangerous as anything else. So I don't know how they're sticking this through, you know, the tournament.
I don't think they're sticking it through. It's the same thing as in Eastern Europe. Like I know from personal experience because of my hometown, like teams over there also have flares. It's very popular
common
across
in
Eastern
Europe. Yeah, it's
Europe.
common in
Eastern
Europe.
Europe, not
Yeah.
primarily towards the western part.
But usually it's in it's in whole festive, fan driven.
Believe it to be, but it's also
Yeah.
it can be turned very malicious and dangerous. As
yes.
one of the most dangerous derbies in the world is in Bosnia. And the thing is about that is the fact that we the people over there, to them it's also something. You say, how are they allowing it? It's not really that they're allowing it. It's they know how to sneak it in.
Yeah,
Even
but-
past security.
But security should be on top of their game though, because they can sneak in that. I
Yeah, of
mean,
course.
they can sneak in anything. So and then the safety of the fans and the players are in question, obviously.
Basically, it's not really that they're allowing it. It's just sending a really alarming sign of how far is it going to take until there's going to be a drastic change to the security.
Even in one of the games, I believe that in the upper stands, Croatia fans were causing havoc, and the police had to intervene and control the situation because they have trouble with their FA and they want to get rid of some people in the higher up. So it's bad to see, but the Euros continue. The game must go on.